What's up everybody? You know what time it is. You know what? Two things I want to talk about in this video. Number one, a revelation that a friend, a very close friend of mine that I talk to often, brought to my attention, and it is piggybacking on something that I had discussed in a video that I had done about 2 years ago. The other thing I want to share with you guys, since you've asked for it, is one of my first astral projection experiences where another party was involved, and there was a confirmation that this was more than lucid dreaming or someone's wild imagination. You know, all these things that so-called skeptics and people who profess to not believe in these things tend to associate astral projection and out-of-body experiences with. So let me get back to my first talking point. My good friend Charlotte had called me out of the blue, and she does this quite often. When she gets an epiphany or aha moment, as Oprah would say, she would call me and run it past me to get my feedback on it. And we think so much alike. Now, she and I both understand the power of music and how influential music really is. Unfortunately, there are still so many people in the world who don't understand the power of music and how what we listen to, it influences us, affects us mentally, spiritually, vibrationally, so on, so forth. I had done a video some time ago about the music industry and how and why negative music is being promoted more than often. Now, the common excuse for basically polluting the airwaves with negativity is that, oh well, it sells. Now, my rhetorical question at that time was, is it that this sells because of its content, or have we been conditioned to love and devour more, or influenced or brainwashed to devour and only seek out or consume this kind of content? Now, I'm partial to see it as the latter, or the latter, that this is more conditioning and the excuse to keep this one-sided way of thinking, believing, behaving, and consuming going is like an ends, or like a way of making the ends meet, so to speak. Now, having said that, my friend called me and she was like, wow, you know, it just hit me. Music, lyrics, the beat. And when you hear a song in repetition and you're singing along with a song, with the lyrics, and you sing it over and over, this is a form of affirmation. Now, this was a different way of looking at it. And I said, you know what, you're absolutely right. I hadn't thought of it in that way, but yes, you're onto something. Now, let's quickly look at the different definitions of the word affirmation. The first definition I have here is the act or an instance of affirming, state of being affirmed. Number two, the assertion that something exists or is true. Number three, something that is affirmed, a statement or proposition that is declared to be true. Number four, confirmation or ratification of the truth or validity of a prior judgment, decision, etc. Number five, law, a solemn declaration accepted instead of a statement under oath. Now, we often talk about how we are consciously and unconsciously creating our reality. And For instance, when we say, oh, I'm just a loser, or, you know, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm this, I'm that, and no matter how true it may or may not be to the outside world, to us, it is very true. This is why and how someone who has, and I'm guilty of this, I've always been a little on the chubby side. And a lot of that chubbiness wasn't because I was overeating or anything like that. It was because I was an introvert. I stayed to myself a lot, and I was eating a bunch of sweets. But, you know, I was made fun of and called fat boy and boss hog and all those things. And to this day, I'm what you would call a medium build. I'm not fat, and believe me, the camera makes me look a little heavier than what I actually am. But I'm nowhere near as heavy as I used to be. But for a long time, when I looked in the mirror, I would see myself as totally different from what the outside world saw me as, because I would affirm that I was fat. I believed that I was fat. So in my mind, excuse me, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw a fat guy. I was never really fat, just chubby, just a chubby kid. And then I had a little extra pounds in my adulthood. You know, nothing, you know, serious. But in my mind, when I looked in the mirror, I saw a fat guy. And I'm using that as an example of how we can say things over and over in our minds, and we make it our reality. It becomes our reflection. Now, taking it back to music, you know, I guarantee you, if we were to take our emotions out of this, okay, because I know how much some of us love our certain kind of music, we become emotionally attached to it, and we will defend it to a T, even when it may not be the most positive thing, or it may be contributing to some kind of deficit in our lives. Sometimes it's like a drug. It's hard for us to let go of something that makes us feel good, although it may not be good for us in the way that we think. Now, if we were to take our emotions out of it and look at anyone in our lives who listen to a certain kind of music over and over and over again, the message in the music, look at how they act, look at the language they use, look at the things they're interested in. If you're listening to songs over and over and over about aggression and anger and hostility, chances are those who consume and buy this and support this are going to be angry, aggressive, and hostile. If you're listening to music over and over and over of a religious content, that is going to feed and reinforce the spirit and the reality of someone who is religious. We look at someone who is into rampant, wild sex, drugs, and alcohol, and partying, and treating women like, you know, sex ornaments, and, you know, like something to use and just discard. Look at the kind of music they listen to, and look at how they dress. Again, it's right in front of our faces. I say it all the time. Now, again, it often comes to that proverbial question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Again, some people may say, no, it's really the music that's influencing the behavior, and then others will say, no, it's actually people who like these things who are drawn to the music. I actually, like I said, I'm more partial to the conditioning and programming, but it depends on what it is. It could be both. It could be both, more or less to either end. Somewhere, some people right in the middle, some people more here, some people more there. Again, the self, to analyze self and to go deep within and truly reflect and discern which applies to us. It's a very individual, case by case like scenario. So affirmations do work. They are very powerful. When we say things and believe things and keep affirming this in our minds, this is what our reality becomes. And music, by being the most universal, most powerful tool one of the most universal and powerful tools to create our reality, or to affirm through a melody, which carries a frequency, a beat, which stimulates our core essence, and then you have the lyrics on top of it. This is influence and indoctrination on multiple levels at one time. This is why those of us who are service to self and orientation, who do not want to see us evolving, want to control the flow of music, because this is so very effective in keeping people in a very stagnant state of being. And again, let's take our emotions out of it and really look at this, look at it for what it is, not what we want it to be. And we will see just blaring truths in this regard. Music is a form of affirmation, and I asked my friend if I could use this as a talking point, and she said absolutely, because that revelation was so very strong, and I totally agree. Now I'm going to tell you guys about an out-of-body or astral projection experience that I had some years ago, and it's kind of piggybacking on the influence, energetic influence and affirmation. And I'm not going to go into the nuts and bolts of this story, because I'm going to put it in my book, but just kind of just to give you guys an idea of how I determined that astral projection is absolutely real and not some figment of one's imagination. This happened years ago. I was working somewhere, and I won't say where. Let's just say I wasn't very happy working there, but I did like some of the co-workers. Okay, I liked the interaction. That was motivation enough for me to go there until I could make a change and do something else. There was one particular co-worker who, we just connected from day one, and she's very funny, and anyone who knows me, they know that I'm just a big kid. I love to laugh, I love to cut up and joke and be silly sometimes. And we used to joke with one another just all the time, and we used to even flirt, because I can be a flirt, it's all innocent and fun. And so this particular day, there was so much drama going on the job, and I just kept thinking, oh goodness, I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to do something purposeful. That's where I was. That's what I was feeling. And right when I was in like that state of thinking, this particular coworker, she came in, and as usual, she greeted me with a joke, and we were cracking up, and we was just talking and joking and being silly. And she touched my shirt, and she was like, "What is this on your shirt?" And I was trying to look. I couldn't see what it was from the angle but there was nothing there. And she was basically clowning. It was just an excuse for her. She started like punching me in my chest, and then she was like, "Yeah, you like my touch," kidding around with me. We were literally in tears, laughing and joking and playing. Now this went on for about 8 minutes, I would say, and she went back to her desk. This was during a break, so she went back to her desk, and I kept thinking about the things that she said, and I just kept laughing to myself, because the joke was so very funny. So anyway, to make a long story short, after work I went to the gym. I was going to the gym regularly then, and got my workout on, came home, took a shower, changed my clothes, and went downstairs. And at that time, I would always lie down in front of the television, and next thing I know, I find myself falling off to sleep. And all I know is somewhere after falling asleep, I felt the typical vibration sensation, the sensations and vibrations. And suddenly I saw all black, and I felt like this force, like a pull, it was almost like I was being sucked through this dark tunnel. And it was like a whoosh, like a whoosh. And next thing I know, I feel Like as if, just as I'm sitting here talking to you, like I am, like some kind of force pulled me up and out, and I was just like this, stiff. I couldn't move. It was like my astral body, or what I perceived to be my astral body, was paralyzed. My hands was frozen, stuck to my side. I couldn't look around, couldn't move, and I was straight up, and I went through this dark tunnel. Suddenly, I'm in this bedroom scene. And again, astral projection, out-of-body experience is very, very distinct. It's not just what you see, it's what you feel. You feel as if you are literally out of your body. It's very first person. You're very out of your body, and you are aware that you are out of your body. You can feel a physical body or another form behind you. You can feel like air and like a breeze hitting you. You can feel your entire astral body buzzing like a generator. You can hear it. It's like a zzz. You can feel it. You can hear it. So it's not just what we see. It's what we feel from a first person perspective. Where did I find myself? In my co-worker's bedroom. Now, what she was doing was she had a cabinet at the foot of her bed, and she was taking some clothes out. She looked to be very frustrated, and I heard her ask her little boy, and I won't say his name, she asked him, "What did you do with my blouse?" And she was like looking through the cabinet, and the little boy ran, her little boy, he was about 4 years old at that time. 4 or 5. He ran in the room. I saw exactly what he had on. He had a blue water pistol in his hand. Her common law husband at that time was sitting at the computer. The computer was positioned towards the corner of the wall. His back was facing the bed. They had a king size bed. I knew the color. I saw the complete layout. I heard what they were saying. Everything. This, in my mind, I'm thinking, how in the world and why in the world am I here? What is going on? What is this? And it lasted for about 10 seconds. And next thing I know, whoosh, there was a whoosh. My body jolted, and I sat up, and I was like, wow. For some reason, I astral projected to my co-worker's apartment and witness these things going on. So because we kid around and joke around so much, I thought, okay, I'm going to mention this, but I'm going to do it in a very playful way to see if this was really what I perceived it to be. So the next day, she didn't come to work the next day. The following day, she came to work, and as usual, she came down in the area where I worked at, and I didn't come right out with it. It was after we kid around and got some jokes in. And like I said, I will give more details about this story when I write the book. And so at some point I said, you know, I know how did I put it? It was something to the degree of, you know, I know how frustrating it could be when, you know, your child, or when a child picks up something that you're looking for and you can't find it, and something like that. And she was like, huh? What are you talking about? And I said, you know, I know that your son, I almost said his name, you know, weren't you trying to find a blouse yesterday that your son misplaced, that you thought that your son misplaced? And weren't you looking in a cabinet and you were very frustrated? And isn't your computer, I gave her the layout of the room, and she was like, oh my God, how do you know that? Get away from me, get away from me. Oh my God, get away. How do you know that? How do you know that? And I started laughing it off, and I was like, oh, you know, I had my little secrets, you know, playing with her, kidding around. She was like, get off me. I started hugging on her like, girl, you know I'm just kidding. She was like, how you know that? Get off me. How do you know that? She literally looked like she saw ghosts. Now, this young lady identifies as a Christian. And I'm sure I was Satan himself at that point, but because she knew my heart and she really knew my spirit, I'm sure it was very awkward for her at that point, because I could see the fear. I could see the nervous laughter, because it went from jovial, fun, free-hearted laughter to like a nervous laughter, and her eyes got really big, and she just kept saying, oh my God, how did you know that? Oh my God. Now, I've never been over her house. You know, I never even thought to go to her house, you know. So the reason why I now understand that the reason why I went there is because she through that interaction we had that earlier that day, there was that psychic connection. By her touching me, that created a doorway for me to connect with her. And again, the laughter and the fun that we had that particular day, all of that played a part. And when I had that spontaneous out-of-body experience, that is the portal or doorway that I spontaneously found myself going through. That which connected to her touch with the joy, the laughter, the fun. So when I had done a video about us being mindful about who we share our body and space with, I don't just say these things because I'm pulling it out of my behind. I'm saying these things because I have had enough experiences to know that these things do happen. And again, we are unconsciously co-creating our reality based on the things that we take in, we listen, we touch, we feel, we interact with, we have sex with. There's always going to be a some kind of psychic connection in some form or another. So let this be the moral of this story, guys. We need to be more mindful. Now, I'm not using the latter story to suggest that it was a negative thing, because it wasn't. It was a confirmation of what I'm saying, but it was also validation that one of many validations for me that astral projection and out-of-body experiences are real, and they are and have been validated. And to those who've never experienced it, all we can do is hypothesize and just, you know, try to dismiss it because it's not within our own sphere of experience. I can understand that. But those of us who've been there, done that, or are doing it, we know, we live it, we experience it, we know it's real, and we gain wisdom from it, and we evolve in the process. And because we're evolving, learning, and growing in the process, we will be doing the greater community a huge injustice if we did not share our findings with those of us who have yet to get to that point, or with those of us who are just waking up and kind of finding our own way or trying to make sense of our own awakening. To wake up is kind of like coming out of amnesia. Like someone who is in a state of amnesia, they'll have a random memory of something but may not quite understand where it's coming from and what it's about, or they may spontaneously do something that was an inherent gift of theirs but not quite understand where that is coming from. To spontaneously astral project and have these out-of-body experiences and the mechanisms behind them, it's the same way. They happen spontaneously, sporadically, may not make sense when it's happening, but the more we have them and the more we analyze and study from them, the more it all starts making sense. So again, let's be mindful of what we listen to, who we interact with, who we let into our space, who we have sex with, and who we allow to control us. That is a big one. And you guys will be surprised to know how many of us are being controlled by forces that we think are not even present. That's a whole nother discussion. Well, family, that's it. I'm about to get me some rest. I want you guys to have a good night's rest, sleep, question, learn, and grow. And as always, happy travels.